Okay, so this lesson is going to be about how to do polynomial long division. So I pulled a couple problems from your homework assignment to give you a couple examples. First one says y to the fourth minus y cubed plus 2y squared plus y minus 1, all divided by y to the third plus 1. So the first thing you want to do is you want to set this up like a long division. So what you're dividing by goes on the outside. Sorry, sometimes this pen acts funny. Y to the third plus 1 goes on the outside. Come on. Y to the fourth minus y to the third plus 2y squared plus y minus 1. So, a couple things you want to notice. And this will apply more in the second problem than it does in here, but just note there's a place for every power. So y to the fourth, y cubed, y squared, y to the first, y to the 0 essentially. So you want to make sure that there's always a placeholder in this part underneath. Whoops. Okay, so what you want to do is you ask yourself, and you always just start with this one. Y to the third times what equals this first term? Y to the third times y equals y to the fourth. Because this is what we want it to equal. So what you do is you then take this answer and you multiply it by everything here. So you multiply it by this one and you multiply it by this one. So we end up with y to the fourth, and then y times 1 is y. Now notice where I write it. Okay, I have to write it under my terms that are the same. So just so I can use this for later, we'll clear this space out. Okay, now we add the opposite of everything. So we add the opposite, add the opposite. The first term should always go away, and then you bring down all the terms that you're not adding. So this becomes negative y to the third plus 2y squared. Y minus y is 0, so we're just going to leave a space, and then we bring down this negative 1. Okay, now I start over and I ask myself the same question. Y to the third times what is now equal to this number? Y to the third times negative 1 is negative y to the third. So up here I write negative 1. Now I take this negative 1 and I multiply it by everything here. So negative 1 times y to the third is negative y to the third. These should always be the same because they're always going to cancel each other out. And negative 1 times positive 1 is negative 1. So we go through and we add the opposite. Now this is a negative, so it changes to a positive. This is a negative, so it changes to a positive. These cancel out, so I have 2y squared, and these cancel out. Okay, now y to the third times what is 2y squared? Well, nothing, because this exponent is smaller than this one. So my answer is equal to y minus 1 plus, I take whatever I have left over, 2y squared, and I divide it by out in front, y cubed plus 1. This is my final answer. Let's do one more. Okay, x squared minus 4 divided by x minus 1. So again, what we're dividing by goes on the outside, x minus 1. And we have x squared. Now remember, we said we have to have a place for all of our terms. X squared, we don't have any x's, so we're going to leave a blank for it, blank here, minus 4. Okay, so I'm just going to erase this just so we can leave a space. So I start over again. I start here. X times what is equal to x squared? Well, x times x. Now notice where I write it. I write it over the spot where my x's go, even though I don't have any here. Okay, I still write it in the spot because that's where my x's are. So x times x, here I do here times here, and here times here. Okay, so x times x is x squared. X times negative 1 is negative x. I add the opposite. These cancel out. this becomes x, and I bring this down, minus 4. I'm going to start over. X times what is x? 1. Positive 1, actually. So I take my positive 1 and I multiply it by x, and I multiply it by negative 1. So 1 times x is x, 1 times negative 1 is negative 1. And I add the opposite. Negative 4 plus 1 is negative 3. Now, x times what is negative 3? Nothing, because the exponent here is smaller than the exponent here. So my answer is what's on top. What's on top, which is this. Okay, so I get, and then I do this divided by this is going to be my remainder, because they tell you in this problem specifically something about divisor and remainder. I don't actually remember the words that they use, but you always want to do the pinks first. So x plus 1 plus whatever you have in the green, negative 3, divided by what you divided your whole problem by, x minus 1. And that's your final answer. Let me know if you have any other questions. I can give you some more examples, but I think this will give you a good start.